Oh, I think I muted the wrong person here. What am I doing? I just put someone's hand down. Oh, here. I know where it is. Hold on. I know. There we go. So I have someone with the last 4 digits of their phone number, 2272. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Mitch. Yeah, this is Randy Horton here in Midland. How you doing?
Hey, Randy. How you doing?
Oh, yeah, we're doing good. We're just almost through your first book. I know it's taking me a bit, but I'm to story number 8 in the first book. And we went on vacation this weekend to Lake Palestine, Rose and I and the family, and we started your book over on the audio version, so I've listened to some of your book, like read or listened to it like 3 times, parts of it. But
so the first book's kind of a, the first half of that book's autobiographical, just how I figured out how to buy 100 plus houses a year. But it has, it has some inherent, what do you call, universal lessons or something that kind of happen in this business. Are you seeing that? Are you picking that up, or what are you getting out of it?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, we love it. It's great. I see how it all fits in there.
Yeah, part of the reason I wrote the book was you'd go to listen to all these gurus, and they show you all this money and these big checks and these fancy cars and these big boats and these good-looking women, and then you got out there in the fields and they didn't tell you about the foreclosure guy and the guy that wouldn't move out of your house. So I was like, I'm going to write how this business really goes. This is what happens after the Get Rich seminar. This is how it really runs.
Yeah, especially love that one that really cracked me up about when you went in there and smashed that guy's, or it was your
air conditioner.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't fly today, but I was too dumb to care and too brave to know the difference, and that guy just pissed me off. So I kind of lost my cool there and probably could have got myself in some real trouble. But I learned a lesson from that one thing that I don't know that I put in that book. I don't remember if I did or not. But when you're dealing with a thug that's treating you that way, the first thing I do now is I have someone run him. I have friends at the police department and friends at immigration, and I just have them run them to see if they have any warrants. If I'd ever figured out that there was any warrants on them, I don't have to do anything. I just have to tell them, I know you got warrants for your arrest. You got about 24 hours to get out of here.
No, you did. You put that in the book.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. I need to reread my own book, Randy.
Yeah. Now, I wrote down a few questions here, and one of them here I will ask you. It's about another story. I know when we talked previously, you talked about being in the seminar with Ron LeGrand, and he called you an idiot that one time when you said you were selling 100 or about 150 houses a year. But just read that one, I think yesterday or today maybe. Yeah, I think today I read it, that story. And, I'd heard, you talked about the one approach to finding the owners of vacant houses by putting the for sale sign in the yard and then putting the question mark after for sale after the first one called you pretty irate.
Yeah, I needed a way to disarm them. You have to. The problem with that is sometimes you'll lose your deal because you have to treat every caller like they're the owner. Because you don't know which one's the owner, which call is the owner. And a lot of people are calling you the house to buy the house. So it's not really what you're asking. You're trying to get the owner to call, but the owner will disguise themselves, and they won't say they're the owner. They'll start asking about the house to see if you're really trying to sell their damn house, without any paperwork, They're trying to find out and that's when you say, well, I probably need to, I'm not really putting that house up for sale because I got a title issue and I need to clear the title issue first before I sell it. And that's when the owners will chime up and go, yeah, damn right, you got a title problem. You don't own the house. You know how I know? I said, I know how you know. And he goes, well, how do you think I know? I said, because you're the owner, right? And he said, yeah, I've been looking for you. And that's like, I did this to find you.
Yeah. So would you still recommend trying that approach today?
Yeah, it's better than not. I'd rather try to find the owner a different way now. We got skip tracing, we got other ways. But back in the day, I didn't know those ways to do it, and I'm not even sure if they were available to people like me back then. And, skip tracing, I could hire a private detective, and that would cost some money. But I was just taking pot shots at houses that, you know, for $1, maybe it'll work out. You know what I mean? Maybe it won't.
Yeah.
I had some investors call me and said, that's what I thought. You don't own this house. And then they would hang up, and then they would be my competitors. They would know that I didn't own the house, and they would start competing with me. But that, you know, I bought more houses than I didn't. So that's all that really mattered to me.
Yeah. And hey, okay, here's another question I have for you. I've heard in some of my lessons, you know, I've listened to about double closings, you know, versus assignment of contract. I mean, can we even do assignment of contracts in Texas anymore? Or are they frowned upon, or what, for like wholesaling?
Well, yeah, you can, but you got to disclose to your buyer. The buyer has to see all your numbers. Like, so you could lose your buyer if you're making $100,000 off the house. That's when you just have to make up your mind. I'm going to have a double closing. It's going to cost me an extra couple $1,000, but it's not, you know, I'm making $100,000 on this. So instead of making 100, I'm going to make 97,000 or whatever. And I'm not going to blow my deal because they're not going to be able to see how much margin I have. Other people like me, if I want to buy your house, I don't care if you got the house for free. If I land on the number I want and you showed me the numbers, I don't care. I just come by after the closing and go, man, way to go. You hit a home run. Good deal. As long as I got the house that way I want. But some people get very offended if you're making a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Okay. And, I think you.
And if I'm really worried about it, I'll buy the house at one title company and I'll go to another title company and sell it, and I'll push them way far apart.
All right. I think you mentioned. I guess you have multiple attorneys. I know you just mentioned a foreclosure attorney, but who is your main attorney? Did you say it's Matt Cowart?
Yeah, Matt Cowart.
Is that Cowart?
Yes.
Okay.
He's in San Antonio. But, you know, I have different attorneys for different problems, you know, because they all can't specialize in everything, you know. I mean, if, you know, that's like a contractor that comes up to me and says, I'm a jack of all trades, I do it all. What I hear is, you don't do anything really good.
Okay. All right. And then I was going to ask you, I haven't got to the part about your private money in the course yet. We're still, you know, going through it. But I was going to ask you this question. I'm sure it's probably answered in that part, but whenever you get a private money loan, you know, and then you pay cash for the house and, you know, you sell it with owner financing, and if you can't sell the note, you know, or whatever the time period is, I mean, how do you pay off your private lender, or do you just keep making them payments?
Well, depends on how you know, if you borrow 15-year fixed money from your private lender, you don't have to worry about it, you know, just, you know, you already have a great loan. But if you're buying, like when I started out, 8% interest only for 5 years, and then I'm selling my house on a 30-year fixed note to my buyer, there's a train wreck, you know, coming, you know, in 5 years, potentially. But I could go through all the scenarios. It'd take me about 45 minutes, but I actually took time to write all the exit strategies out of that situation at my blog at 1000houses.com. If you go to the blog and you read the blog post, why I borrow at the terms I do.
Okay. I'll write that down.
Now, since I wrote that, I don't just do 8% interest only anymore. The reason why I had done it back then is I had a lot of old people and like 70s and 80s, and some of them have loaned me money on 10 or 12 houses, and they're deathly afraid to spend their principal because they're not rich. They just had enough to live on, and if they spent their principal, they'd shoot themselves in the foot, so they're very worried about their principal. So when I send them this big check, they would have to go to 10 amortization schedules and figure out how much of the payment was for this house and how much of that payment for this house was for principal, because they could spend the interest, and then they have to do that 10 times. It's too much work for you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And that's why I just said I'll just do interest only. That way, if I send you these little checks every month, you can go live off of them, and if I send you a great big one, that's the return of your principal. And that was real easy. But I wasn't amortizing, and that left me with another step. It means I had to go refinance these houses with the bank, or I had to sell the note, or I had to sell a partial of the note, or I had to do something because, you know, my agreement with my private lender was going to run out. Or I could switch lenders, you know. This guy wants out at 5 years, but there's another guy that wants in, you know, so I could put him in. But I'm never reducing my principal. Now, granted, it would take 17 and a half to 18 years before the person in my house that was making me a payment, before their balance would get down to where my balance was, 17 and a half years.
Okay. Okay. And
but if you read that blog, I took time one time to just spell it all out and say it the very best I could, and I had time to think about it and readjust it and think about it and readjust it, and I got it as good as I know it. But today, I actually borrow money at 15 years, 10%, 9 years at 9%, 15-year with a 7-year balloon at 8.5%. I don't like to do interest-only loans anymore because it's kind of disheartening when you've been making payments for 5 years and you go to refinance and you owe exactly what you started with. The other reason to do interest-only though in the beginning is because every dollar that you put in your pocket when you're trying to get free from your job, goes towards that freedom. And if you're doing an amortized loan, there's $50 of that payment or $100 of that payment that's going towards the principal, and you're not being able to live off of it. So when I was young, I was trying to get my cash flow as high as possible, and interest only is the highest possible, option.
Okay.
But as soon as I got free, I don't want to do interest only anymore because I don't need every penny to replace my job income,
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have this other question about I hadn't read your 200 plus ways to find the bargain properties book yet. I mean, I'm going to read all 3 of your books, but you mentioned like lead generation. I don't know if I wrote this website down correctly last time. Is it livoc.com? I don't know if I'm saying that right. LIVOC.
It's Livecom. LIVECOMM as in live communications. Livecom.com. LIVECOMM.com.
Okay, livecom.com. Okay. And is that to find sellers and buyers?
Well, you're buying phone numbers from Livecom. By the way, I'm a owner of that company just for transparency, okay? So you buy phone numbers. The phone numbers cost $2 a piece per month. I mean, I think there's a $29 subscription and then $2 a phone number. You get one phone number with your subscription. But every phone number that you buy has a text distribution list attached to it. And anyone who calls that number from their cell phone, automatically their phone number gets put in that text distribution list. So it's a way of I can put out a bunch of signs around town and I can tell who called them. And depending on what the sign says, I know what they were calling about. I could create a wholesaler's list by putting out signs that say $100,000 house for $48,000. And then I make the recording when they call the number say that deal's already been taken, but I'll be sure to send you a text next time I have a deal come up. And so all these people that want a $100,000 house for $48,000, I'm going to assume either have $48,000 or they know how to get their hands on $48,000. So there's my wholesale list, and it's just building up all night long. I mean, every day, 365 days a year, it's just collecting phone numbers. And then when I do have a wholesale deal, I just text all those phone numbers with a link to my description of my deal.
So you're building your buyers list and stuff.
Yeah. But if if your sign says, free list of owner financed homes, well, I'm going to figure everyone that calls that phone number and all the numbers in that text distribution list, these people have a down payment and they're looking for someone to carry the paper for them, that's looking for a seller that'll finance them. And so when I get a new house for sale, I send the description of that new house I text it out to all those people,
Okay.
You make a sign that says, earn 10% on your idle money. Well, I'm gonna assume that people that call that phone number and listen to that recording are interested in making a return on their idle money, right? Then maybe they'll loan me their money.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, we'll check that out. Okay, I think that's all. All right, Mitch. Appreciate it.
All right, Randy. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.